Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Connected Conversation series. And today I am honored and privileged to welcome Angele, who works in a hospital. She's a transformational coach. She is a single mom of 3 children and a high performance athlete. So, Angele, first of all, thank you so much for joining us and tell us about your story. How do you manage all of that and thrive? Because I know you are in a really fantastic place in yourself and you feel just thriving when you're very grounded, you're growing your business and empowering people around you. And I'm so inspired by you. So tell us.
Thank you so much. It's as much my pleasure to have you. Even if I'm joining your show. It's an exchange, and it's an honor to be here. And thank you for asking me. So yeah, my story. So I'll start. I've been working in an acute care hospital for the last 19 years, and throughout that time, I really started to realize that gratitude and being in gratitude. So my patients, I was always so inspired by their story. I work with cancer, people who have head and neck cancers, and just so inspired by people who, despite the negative or the difficult moments they were going through, they could still thank me. They could still appreciate me, but mostly they could thank their illness for helping them change their lifestyles, change their habits, rekindle relationships that they hadn't. I can go on and on, travel to places where they never thought they could. So just realigning their lives. And I was really, really inspired by that. And then I started also noticing that I was feeling their feelings. I was feeling their energy. I was feeling um, I was even hearing their thoughts sometimes, which kind of sounds strange, but then I would, say, is this what you're trying to tell me? Or I feel like you're feeling this way. And then their faces would light up and say, oh my gosh, like that's exactly how I feel. So being in a Western society, a very large acute care hospital, like we have hundreds of beds. I don't know how many, but a teaching hospital and very reputable. I thought, energy work, like my colleagues are going to think I'm crazy. And, I still love my job, but I still felt like I could offer way more to these patients and that we were just showing them one part of the medical system. And I know that, we need chemo, we need radiation, we need treatments. But we also need to, deal with our emotions and be grateful and deal with that whole other spiritual, emotional, um, portion as well, because a lot of those physical ailments come generate from that. And um, so I decided I was taking some energy courses, and I did some Reiki and some quantum energy, and I started realizing, wow, this is so fascinating. And there's actually a science behind it. Um, so that's how I'm still working at the hospital, and I'm still enjoying the energy work mostly. But what I also realized at the time was, yes, I had a reputable job. I had a fabulous income. I was a mom of three. I was, doing it. I was living the life, working full time in a prestigious hospital, having the 3 children and having so much fun with them, having time to do my triathlons. But really, on the inside, I was putting everyone else first. I was exhausted. Yes, I was performing and I was doing it's what seemed to be the best thing, and I had it all together. But deep down, I felt so empty and so exhausted and anxious and just really tired. And I thought, there's a whole other life for me. I'm not meant to be this way. I love helping people. I love my children. But why am I feeling guilty for taking time for myself? Why am I feeling guilty for putting myself first. It doesn't mean that I won't take care of my children. So then I started training. I started taking non-negotiable time for myself. So I started swimming and I started biking, and then I got into triathlons. And I thought, wow, this is amazing. I love biking. I've biked all my life, and this is time for me. And the way that I flipped that was, well, I'm training for something, so I don't have a choice. So I was still in my head, meaning, the high performance, I'm going to do this, but I would consistency. I would still do it. I would still get up. And that was time for myself. And my kids knew, and my husband at the time knew that, it was non-negotiable. Mom had a biking training in the morning. So that worked, it was great, but there was still something missing. I still felt like I had a whole other calling for me. And then last year, I left my marriage, and as a mom of three, as what has society, the perceptions that I had placed, hello, the expectations that I had placed on myself, all of the outside factors that um, I had been conditioned to think that there's no way that I could ever leave my relationship and not ruin my children's lives, not ruin my own life. And after all, I was crazy to leave. He wasn't an abusive partner. He was a good dad. He made good money. He had a good job. What was I doing? What was I thinking? In fact, people thought I was probably insane. Um, and that all came together during COVID. Working again, I mentioned that I worked at the hospital, and um, my
Hello,
colleagues.
we can welcome you to our show. Are you going to join us?
Are you going to join?
Mom's life. Let's keep it real. I love it. Real and authentic.
Yes, absolutely. I'm okay with that.
Me too.
Yeah, thanks. So during EPIC, in a really high anxiety, stressful environment, where my colleagues were, because we were working with COVID patients and long hours, and people were getting so anxious and missing work. So my department, it got shrunk, and people were just not coping, not managing. And then it got me thinking, wow, how am I coping and thriving and loving life even more after I just went through a divorce? I'm working full time. I have three kids. I'm a single mom. I still find time to myself. I still train as a triathlete. What is it? And then it clicked. Like, my life mission became so clear to me. How could I help empower others to make changes in their lives and find their soul purpose and really thrive and do everything that they wanted, even through chaos and even through challenges, because we all have challenges. So that was a really long intro. I'm sorry. If you have any
That's
questions.
okay. I mean, I love listening to you, and I love how open and authentic and vulnerable you are, because I am sure there are so many people, and especially women, who can resonate with you, who just feel that they have so much on their plate and they're spinning so many plates at once.
Mm-hmm.
They are in this, yes, I'm doing this, doing this, doing this, doing this, but they are just drowning. They might not be fulfilled. Or obviously they love being in the role of mom and everything, but on an energetic level, let's say, it's difficult. That's kind of what I'm seeing in my environment and hearing. So I'm sure it's really inspiring to hear you and your story, your journey, to actually see, okay, it can be different. There is a way how to do it and thrive and still have time and not to feel guilty, because is real. Apparently, I mean, I'm not a mom myself, but that's what I can keep hearing and seeing everywhere. So it's really inspiring. So thank you for that. So tell us about, like, how do you have a routine or something, activities that you do that kind of keeps you grounded and set yourself for the day, because you are in a very demanding environment? Yes. especially these days. So, yeah, what do you do to keep yourself in this vibe, if I put it this
Yeah.
way?
Thank you. That's a good question. So it was not always like this. So I know, some of you might be thinking, well, that's for her. That's not me. I have too much going on. I don't even have time for myself. I don't even have 5 minutes. That was me, truthfully. I would purchase a book and it would stay on my nightstand, and I wouldn't read it. And then I would feel guilty because I'm not doing something for myself. And then I would spin into this, oh my gosh, why did I ever become a mom? Like this is, and then I would like, oh my gosh, maybe. And then I would spin around. And then one day, well, after I started training, I thought, well, what if I took non-negotiable time to also for my mind to help me settle, to help me realize that, you know, to give me energy to ground me in the morning. So I started meditating, and I was so in my head again. But that's where the determination and the consistency comes in because for 6 or 7 months, no word of a lie, I read the biography of a yogi. So again, very in my head, and that's fine because that's where it got me. I realized it and I shifted, but I read that book and then I would sit in my basement for between 30 and 45 minutes every morning. And for 6 or 7 months, nothing came. I was all in my head and I could not, once in a while I would, relax a little bit, but then I would still go back to, oh my gosh, I have all this to do today. And what am I going to do in my grocery list? And finally, one day it clicked. Um, and I was able to really relax and really go deep. I think I actually almost fell asleep, like I was between sleep, and I realized, wow, this is what it feels like to relax and be empowered, but mostly to listen to my intuition. Because this we can call it gut feeling, we can call it intuition. I was so busy in the doing, that I couldn't even listen to my own intuition, which in the end had answers that were made life so much easier for me. So then I started making, non-negotiable time for that. And then I realized that I also, so the meditation really helped me ground, really helped me tune into my intuition. But I also realized that our thoughts created our realities. So I started, journaling and, the gratitude practice from my patients, so that realizing that, being in gratitude for what you have, being in gratitude for even the challenges. So started that routine. So this is all in the morning. And then also visualization. So I thought, okay, if I can, visualize the life I want, if I can picture it, if I could feel it, if I could see who's there, what kind of life I want to live, um, that'll even, that'll help me forward, and that'll help me, um, gain clarity and align my soul's, my mission, my intuition to what I really want, and then taking aligned action. Um, so now I cannot live without my morning routine. And I used to tell myself even 5 minutes. So you can set your alarm even 10 minutes earlier than usual, because I've been there and I've told myself, I don't have 10 minutes. I'm exhausted. I need 10 minutes of sleep. I need that extra 10 minutes. My kids, like are going to come in 5 minutes and all I want to do is sleep. But it really gave me much more energy, so much more energy. And that's how I've been able to thrive, because of that non-negotiable time. So it's an interesting switch, because you're thinking, oh my gosh, I don't even have time to do this. I'll do it tomorrow. And then I would run into the cycle of it. Oh, I now I feel guilty because I really should be meditating. It's good for me. Everyone tells me I should be doing it. Um, but taking that time and taking that time to center whatever your practice is, or whatever resonates with you. Some people like to do yoga, whatever calms your mind and whatever makes you, tune into your intuition and out of your head and really into your feelings and your heart. Anything that promotes that really throughout the day, the decisions you'll make, I'm so productive at work beyond beyond productive, not because I'm better than anyone, but my time is focused, and I know that I make decisions from a calm place, and I know that things will happen, challenges will come up, but that it can always come in, take a few minutes to relax, and then the answer will be, because you're not reacting, you're not coming from a place of you're making decisions from a centered place. And I mean, I'm not perfect at all. There are moments where, there's tension and I haven't had some time, but it's to pause and then come back with the answer, or to pause and go back inside and say, okay, there's a reason that this came up, but I know that I have the tools, and I know that I have the energy. And so I have more energy than ever, and I do more things than ever with less to do time in the day. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. I mean, I love everything that you're talking about, because interestingly, just today, actually, I was speaking with a friend and about this, like listening to your intuition and all that. And then, because it's so powerful and it can feel so, I feel like weird or hard, because I think there was so much noise that
Yes.
us in our lives, generally speaking. So unless we dedicate the time to ourselves, it's incredibly difficult to tune to ourselves and to actually hear us. I know this is something I'm coming back to myself, and actually, I always had that, but I didn't trust it. I didn't trust my intuition. I didn't trust those feelings. And then what happened, right? At the end of the day, it was always right. I just needed to go through the journey to get the confirmation, let's say. So now I feel like I'm able to be more aware of like what's going on. I have the answers. I don't need to now speak to 10 different people and ask, what do you think about this? Because I was in a place that I just didn't trust myself at all. And I feel like you need a validation and asking for permission from others and all that to give you this, okay, yes, go for it. Like you've got this, and then I will take action. So it's really beautiful and empowering place to be in, just sitting with yourself and being okay with what's going to come.
Mm-hmm. And that was perfectly said. When you do tune in and take the time, your answers are clear. And the noise around and asking others for validation, that takes so much time and so much energy, and it's draining. Where in the end, if you just really truly trust yourself and hear what's there, your answer, it'll take you 2 minutes versus, 2 hours.
Yeah, no,
But a
absolutely.
lot.
Absolutely. And I know, I mean, this is so powerful. And the other thing is that also like asking, let's say asking others like, hey, what do you think of that? At the end of the day, that's just their interpretation, right? Because we do, as
Mhm.
you said earlier, right? We create our own world of reality. And
Absolutely.
I have an interpretation of something based on the way where I am, right? So you may ask, or I may ask other people, but we are all in such a different places in the way we see world and we see things and we believe about certain things. So actually, I feel it just creates even more confusion in ourselves, because you get 10 different answers, or is just the most likely that happens that others start just projecting
Mm-hmm.
their fears, their limitations, let's say, onto us. And then it just, okay, is it gonna support my limitation? Is it gonna create, oh, you kick my plant? Is it gonna, support me, or is it just gonna support more limitations? And I'm gonna stop myself and even more not trust myself. So yeah.
Absolutely. And when you become aware of that, how powerful is that? How powerful are you as a human being to make the choices that are right for you, to follow your intuition, to follow your guides, to follow your voice and your inner knowing, and to be okay to speak your truth and to tell others, I hear you, I see you, I appreciate your suggestions, but you know, I'm comfortable with this, or I'm going to go with this.
That's so
And as
powerful. It's so
yeah,
liberating.
and oh, I'm sorry, yeah. And as women, you know, we're conditioned in a certain way, whether we like to admit it or not, you know, to be a certain way, and it's not the same for every woman. It depends on the surroundings and the family, and but we're conditioned, and men are too. They're not. I'm not saying women, you know, they have their issues as well, but we're conditioned to behave a certain way, to do certain things, to go in a certain direction. And you know, people thought I was crazy when when I said I was starting my coaching business, because they thought, wow, like you have, you know, you have the perfect job and it pays so well, and you know, what do you like? Why would you want to do that? But it's about empowering. Like my inner voice was so loud, and being empowered, and then really wanting to help others feel this great, and having them realize that they have the power to choose and to do anything they want, but we just, you know, have all these layers that are placed, or that we place on ourselves based
Mm.
on um,
Yeah, no, that is so, so empowering. And it just takes that, right? It's just because I think unless I feel like unless a person starts to do some personal development work or embarks this self-development journey, it's not quite common or obvious. I think, I mean, it wasn't to me even until I started doing
me neither.
work. And I think that the trend is that we focus on the outwards, right? We focus on out there, what's happening, what they are doing, what they are telling me, or what's happening out there. And then that's how I react or how I behave, how I decide, rather than actually what's happening inside of me, that I'm having these experiences. I'm having these interactions, I'm having these results, right? Because I 100% believe we are the source of everything, and that is,
1000%.
yeah, and that is, again, it is just so liberating to be in this place where just having this perception, just taking a step back, just like, okay, how am I being that I'm having this experience? Like, how did I source that? And I know, like, I I'm spending more time with my parents now, and I know that my mom wasn't necessarily quite well some time ago, and I was just like, I get to support her, I get to help her, and I get to, all this. But at that time, I wasn't necessarily in the best place myself, and I was so focusing on her. And everyone was telling me, just stop, focus on you. You cannot support, empower, change anything unless you do. And the second I started to do it was a week, let's say just a week, where I was really tuning into myself and into how I'm doing. And I started with my morning practice just to really ground myself before I go to the world. And literally, it just took a week, and I could see she started to shift. She
Absolutely.
more open. She started like, okay, maybe we could do this together. And she was more curious and more open to receive support, because I was like, it was so incredible to literally see it as a tangible thing, because often we talk about it and we don't, and I kept hearing this stuff, just like, what do you mean? Like, how am I sourcing everything, and how that I change, how does that impact my environment, like on the energy? It was such an abstract concept.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, suddenly I could just see it in front of me as I started to relax and be more connected with myself. I could feel more connection with my parents. I could sense more connection within themselves. It's like, okay, this is very interesting.
So that's a secret sauce. That's a beautiful realization, as especially as moms, and as you know, wanting to please everyone. That was one of my biggest realizations. My cup needs to be full first, because how can I serve everyone else if my cup is empty? Then I'm serving from guilt. I'm serving from resentment. I'm serving from exhaustion. I'm serving from anxiety. I'm not in the best place. But when you do take that time to tune in, to that practice, whatever it is for you, you have more than enough to give, and then you do influence its energy. We're all energy, and the way you respond, and once you go on that self-development journey and you realize that everything I do has an impact, how powerful is that? I mean, you can choose to have, you know, bad outcomes. You could choose, or you could choose to look at it from a different perspective and realize, wow, like I shifted, and then I'm already shifting my parents, I'm already shifting my children. And you could do the same thing with parenting. You know, we can like try to control everything and anxiety and like, oh, this is how it's going to be, and no. Or we could just take time for ourselves and then, you know, give them space to be themselves as well, and make the best decisions from a place of fullness and gratitude. And yeah, it's amazing.
No, I love that. Well, Angel, thank you very much for your time. And just before we end, is there anything we haven't talked about, or is there any message you would like to leave our listeners with?
Yes. So if there's anything and anything that I can leave you with, we talked about intuition and really um, taking time for ourselves first. Even if it's 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes a day, setting your alarm 5 minutes earlier than usual, and taking time to read a book, taking time to do something you enjoy, taking time for yourself. Um, and really, you know, eventually you can increase the time, but taking time to tune into your intuition and trusting it, because we all have it. It's all inside of us, and we all deserve to be, you know, to have the life that we want. And don't let anyone tell you that, you know, it's not for you and that you're not meant to have it, because we are meant to have it all, and it's meant to be easy and abundant and loving, and we're meant for that as a humanity. We are. And when we realize that we have that power inside to decide, don't let anyone else tell you otherwise. And it can start just by 5 minutes, 5 minutes to yourself. um,
No, I love that. I mean, this is another topic called this belief system. We
yes,
get it. It gets to be easy. I mean, I think we're gonna do another conversation on this topic because
absolutely, it does get to be easy. Yeah,
it gets to be easy, it gets to be flow, it gets to be joyful. That's it.
absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Anjali. I
My
wish you
pleasure. Thank you.
all
Yes.
the best, and keep empowering and inspiring the world.
Likewise. Thank you.
Thank you.